Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
This was pretty good. This one, I got a lot of joy of listening to this and ending it here and watching you just turn around and glare at me in the kitchen, knowing this is what we ended on.
I believe that's called sadism, from what I know.
It gave me so much joy. I was just like, yes, and now I'm going to watch you suffer the rest of the day, just waiting until we can just sit and talk about this.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm a real masochist, so I didn't enjoy that.
All you can get to hear more about this handsome man.
Well, it wasn't just a handsome man.
Edge of your seat, waiting to hear about him.
Edge is the word.
Edging. To hear more about him.
I'm gooning for that movie, now that I learned what that means. I think, if I'm not using that right, you should tell me right now.
We should probably look it up if men can goon. I only heard about it from men making fun of women reading smut books.
They're just gooning?
Gooning all over the place. In the airport,
I heard of
grocery store.
In a podcast that I listened to, there's a guy who has a character called the Goon Commander. And it makes more sense because every time I thought of goon, I thought of hockey and Sean William Scott.
Because you goon for him?
No, the name of the movie wasn't Goon. He was just a goon, or bad guys, the henchmen. They were always called goons.
Yeah.
And
maybe this is a bad guy. What do you think this handsome, the most beautiful man should ever laid her eyes on? Good or bad?
Well, he's gonna be an enemy turned lover because that's how these books work, right?
Two enemies turned lovers?
Which other enemy?
Tamlin?
I don't think he was ever really her enemy.
We're 20 chapters in.
Yeah, and he's never done anything that made him the enemy. He was like, hey, by law, I either have to murder you or you have to come live with me. And then he comes to live with her and she's like, hey, do you want me to work? And he's like, nah, don't worry about it. You don't need to work. You just look pretty and do what you like doing. Would you like...
But to her, he was the enemy because he took her away.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be a pretty weak enemy. Like, imagine my sworn enemy took me to Qdoba when I wanted to go to Chipotle. That son of a bitch. Like, that's not... No. I think there needs to be more of a mutual combativeness for them to both be enemies, because that's what's going to build that romantic tension.
Who is she ever going to be, combating? Even
I think this
guy, handsome man.
No, he's not a handsome man. He's described as the most handsome man.
The most beautiful.
Most beautiful man I've ever seen. And it's she's like, I'm ready to lick that man's traps.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was all on it.
Well, she was thirsty when she was at the lake with Tamlin.
To be fair, from the description, she should have been. Yeah. Sounds like Tamlin keeps it tight.
Yeah.
That's why they call him.
She talked about how she had to oh goodness, and then she would look up at him, and she's now instead she chose to avert her eyes.
Well, because he was too beautiful. He's like the face of God, right?
No, not too.
No. Well, when you avert your eyes.
No. Oh,
it was more lighthearted than that. Sorry.
It sounded like she was so embarrassed of her thirstiness.
Just ripping through her modest undergarments. That's how they were described. I would like to point out, for a spicy book, I love the way she's there he was, basically nude and out, just yoked as could be. And she's like, my undergarments were very modest. There's nothing there for me. It's all for you.
Yeah, she's written for me.
His just rippling biceps went into his sculpted chest. And then it's in me, I wore a burlap sack.
She's enough about me, more about him.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
From chapter 11 to 20, the movement of her, I'm just doing a recap here.
Mm-hmm.
She sees her dad, quotation marks, finds out, not actually dad, it's some other beast. She feels silly and foolish. She has a actual, heart-to-heart moment with Tamlin about what her family did to her, realizing they didn't stand up for her. They didn't want to step in place for her. And she's just having that moment. Then it moves into...
Pause. Just a moment.
What?
Tamlin also has thoughts within that. She said, my dad would never come for me. I was being foolish. And he said, yes, he would. you don't understand your father's love, but I do. How did you feel about that?
It was odd. I wondered what he knew. It sounded like he knew things that she didn't. And he alludes to this often, such as eventually all things will come to light type of statements.
To be fair, he's lived 600 years, roughly.
And he gained a sixth sense?
I think 600 years of observation versus 19 years is kind of where the wisdom sort of comes in, as opposed to innate knowledge.
And then it moves into her wanting to paint. He's getting the room ready. They go to the lake. It's like a starlight lake. Did you catch that part? You were mowing, you were mowing then. Okay.
Yeah. I was moaning. I was moaning the yard. That's how you make the grass grow. No. So, I heard bits and pieces of it because, like you said, I was on a lawnmower. It was like the lake looked like starlight and the water did. And she's like, what if I drink it? And he's like, oh, you're supposed to have a lifetime of happiness.
Is that lifetime like 10 minutes and then you die?
Well, if it's their old adage, no, it would be like a lifetime for them. Like that would be a long time. She's like, ooh, I need a cup. And he's like, grab me one. Like it was a smooth line. It
was smooth, but I guess maybe that's why I'm just waiting for the conflict, because I took it as like a riddle when I heard it of a lifetime, as in you're about to die if you drink it, but you'll be happy the entire time.
It's the Black Widow scenario.
I was thinking the meth scenario.
Oh, I was thinking of like a pretty lady who's like, hey, come hang out with me, and then she murders you, and you're like, yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, like, that's what it sounded like. It was a riddle.
That's how I want to go out. I want you to murder me.
But in that scene, there's so many of these parts. So yeah, I just wanted to recap. So then we go to the lake. Then we go back to the castle compound, whatever the hell it is. And she gets to go to the gallery. She's painting. She's experiencing that. Then next is the party. I don't know what the name of the party is.
There's an important note in between those.
What's that?
The messenger from the lady, mysterious.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about her. Yeah. That was
badass messenger shows up. Whatever the guy's name is.
Tamlin?
Yes. Tamlin and Taryn and the Foxman. I forgot his name again. Viking.
Lucian.
Oh, there we go.
Lucian and Tamlin speak to this woman. They tried hiding her.
No, they speak to the messenger.
Yes.
Who is a messenger of the woman. And Lucian is like hyper aggressive.
Yeah.
Through that entire conversation. And then he's very defensive of Tamlin. And Tamlin is as aggressive as we had seen him thus far. Like, hey, you tell that bitch she can't use my cave.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I don't know this is the same woman that you were left on a cliffhanger back in like chapter 8 or 9. And I just left you there for 3 days as I kept replaying chapter 7. I'm falling asleep, right?
I wonder if your smile can be heard while you're saying all of these things.
Yes, I got joy out of torturing you. But this time we continue listening after hearing about this woman.
We did continue listening.
And, okay, yes, that happened. We go back to the house. She is told, don't leave.
Explicitly. By everybody.
Leave.
Stay in your room.
Yeah. And then she leaves.
Also, he said, set some traps.
That's even clearer.
Yeah, he's like, you're in fucking danger if you leave this area.
I thought she was going to stay and trap somebody is where the story was going. She listens, as she should, to be safe so she can continue. Nope, she put herself in predicaments.
Hey, if we had 30 seconds describing this, what is she wearing to the party?
Oh, I don't know.
Right, we didn't get 30 seconds of that. What's Tamlin wearing?
I don't know either.
Just some pants and the shit to hold his weapons. He's shirtless.
He's shirtless?
Yes. And that's where she's like, is this some sort of, I guess maybe she wasn't thinking this. I think I was thinking this. It was like, is there a fucking monster orgy going on out there?
I think it's some type of human sacrifice going on.
I don't think it's humans. I don't think they're allowed to do that.
Well, it was a very fairy event.
Yeah, and that's where I think it's mostly sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I think that's what's going on.
Okay. Fairy drugs, fairy magic.
Yes.
They're going magic.
Yeah, they're going to the star pond and they're going to, embrace the light show, so to speak.
Okay.
That's a weird euphemism.
Well, that's an overall recap of everything because I just wanted to be because it took us a little while to get through 9 chapters.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of them were about the way she felt about the art, though.
Yeah.
I think the way they're building a personality that doesn't necessarily have to do with the plot so far is really nice.
She has a deep understanding of art, a deep
Appreciation.
That is the better word, because she is recognizing the different artists in their work and their messages and their passion and their views. It's a really beautiful moment.
Even, the way she brings up the expression of color being so different than the human expression that she would have otherwise. I think that was really a cool note for me.
Tamlin's character gives Witcher vibes now.
Oh.
The first 10 chapters, it was giving Beauty and the Beast. Now it's giving, this story is leaning more into the Witcher vibes.
Like Geralt?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah, right. As Geralt and trying to protect Ciri and that.
Oh, no.
Well.
Too much sexual chemistry.
No, I know. I wasn't trying to connect those dots. I was getting more at the world building that he navigates through, and he is just slaying monsters, and he's virtually immortal, ripped, long-haired man, and just the constant attacks from these. Instead, Geralt is making money off of it, and he's traveling to them in the scenario they're coming. So I kind of moved him into a Geralt, and also not a loving person. Like this character is going, okay. I'm not falling for this guy at the same rate that she is.
Hard, though, and that's not your thing.
Geralt is silver. That's pretty cool.
Geralt is the white wolf.
Geralt is also Henry Cavill to me.
Well, not anymore. He's Liam Hemsworth.
Not if I don't watch that season.
Yeah, I get it. What's weird is every one of these romance books, if they're trying to make a love interest, your brain is like, how can I make it Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill.
It's got to be him. And I don't blame you. I get it. 100% understand. I have no mental image of what she looks like.
I looked up fan art and I really liked it.
Yeah.
It's like an Auburny girl. What's confusing is I wonder if this fan art was giving me spoilers about things, so I'm not going to talk about that to you.
Yeah, so, and this is the thing. I'm not going to look up fan art. 2 reasons. I respect that you like doing that. Part of the judgment I'm going to levy against this is how deep I get in this book before I get a clear image of what this person would appear as.
Yeah.
Right? Because we have a very clear image of everybody else. For instance, Lucian.
I listened.
What color is one of Lucian's eyes?
Metallic.
Gold, yes. Does it move around and function? Yep.
Yes.
We know all of that, right? And I'm sure we've been told.
And he's ginger.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And he has fox-like features, right? That's the mask suited his features or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, I'm sure she described what the main character looked like. But I feel like we got that very briefly as we were also being
told. It was like that in Fourth Wing.
No.
And she didn't describe herself that often.
Constantly, it was described how she was frail. She's the silver one.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah. I see what you're
her
saying.
size was constantly a factor.
Yeah, you're right. I was going for like beauty descriptions, but you're right. I have one of these things written down of sarcasm, and because we went through so many chapters, it then answered it. I wondered how sarcasm worked because Lucian was so sarcastic, and the truthfulness of fairies can't lie. Fairies can't lie. I'm like, how does sarcasm work? Because Lucian has been very sarcastic, and that sounds like
through it.
It just was. I was leaning into plot hole because I would get too caught up in the loop of it. Turns out, didn't even need to worry about it.
Credit where it's due. The plot holes are not there. The things that I picked on are not there.
The iron. I wanted to bring up iron. Yeah, you ended up being right. And I was a little worried. I was like, oh, great. It's going to go this direction. It'd be hilarious if the book also included them laughing a little bit and chuckling. They're like, iron is in everything. That would have just been cherry on the top moment of your take on it.
Well, and then it not being her dad out there. Like, there were so many moments where I was like, the plausibility would just be awful if that was true. And she covered it. She covered her bases. I'm not saying the book is flawless. I'm saying I clearly need to just chill out. She's gonna solve my problems.
Certainly more up your alley than the last one when it comes to how it tackles some of these things that you're catching. Instead, they're cookie crumbs and you're eating them up.
Yeah, because it is written for me to observe the world, not just one person.
Yeah.
Like, I thoroughly am enjoying, like, it's slow. The pacing is glacial at times.
We heard from your friend earlier this week. She said that the author was 19 years old or 17? I don't remember. She was very young. And I want to fact check this. I haven't looked it up. But if she is that young when she first wrote this, yeah.
Who is this? I'll Google this while you ask the question.
Sarah J. Maas, and how old she was for this first book.
Sarah J.
While you're looking that up, do you think that there's something watching her in her dreams? Like when she talks about a shadow?
I don't know how to feel about that. So I think that there's a possibility that something is involved in her dreams, because I think that's a relatively common fantasy trope. But I wonder if that isn't signaling she has some sort of dormant power, or maybe the land. They discuss the magic being within the land itself. And if she isn't also maybe a conduit for that to a certain degree. And therefore, I wonder if the shadowy figure is this woman who everybody's afraid of.
Yeah.
Including Tamlin, who's Billy Badass, but even he's like, oh, that bitch will tear me up. Like, I don't think so. So I'm tentatively, that's sort of my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
I thought that it was something watching her. It almost like, what are those little magic ball globy things, like glass? What are those called? Like
a crystal ball?
A crystal ball like thing. That's kind of the direction that I was putting it in. Like something is watching her. She feels it watching her, but that's all the more that it is just like a feeling that she has.
She's
16 years old when she started?
No, when the tale in her mind had spun. So she drafted a series between the ages of 16 and 22. And yeah.
That's really awesome.
So she wrote it in 2009. It wasn't published until 2000.
Is she our age?
No, she's older than we are.
Oh.
Not by a lot.
Not by a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, no, she wasn't published until much later. But she began writing books when she was 16, her drafts. And then, yeah, that's really impressive.
Yeah, I'm really liking the storyline. I still feel like a outside observer. I'm not really feeling pulled into the main character's mindset like I was with Violet in Fourth Wing, and I don't blame. Yeah,
I agree, and I think that's why I like this more so far.
Like it's intentionally written for you to be in that spot, and it feels more natural.
Because I think I was in that spot in the Fourth Wing, but I felt like I was fighting the author. Like, I cannot put myself in the place of Violet Sortingale. I have nothing in common with Violet Sortingale.
Yeah.
And then this, on the other hand,
a little bit attracted to Xaden.
I mean, no more than everybody else. Bring me them shadows. But no, I think that it's a strength of this book, because it is not just the main character. It's not called, I forgot what her main Feyre. It's not called The Story of Feyre. It is called A Court of, therefore I assume we're really observing the court.
The Spring Court, yeah. Have you noticed how Feyre is softening? Her character is less jaded now than she was in the beginning.
Yeah, I think she's learning. Like, I think that's the cool thing. There's growth, because there's some softening, but it's not a blanket of softening. It's softening with these individuals with whom she had her guard up very heavily with, and it's been slowly eroded.
Yeah.
The same way it would be in real life.
I think it's not only with the people in her life, because even with her art of her, or trying to read and rather than focusing on escape and rescue or fight, it's leaned into becoming a person with securities. Such she has her food, she has a home, she has clothes. All of her basic needs are met. And I feel like we are experiencing those needs being met through her wanting to do art, explore, walk around, get to know people.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. I think, and I would say it's in the name of character development.
What do you think it means for water to be starlight?
For water to look like starlight.
Yeah, it was odd. I didn't understand. She like scooped up the water and it was dripping and rippling, and she looks at it and she's like, is that starlight? The fact that was her first guess means it had to be very confident that this looks like starlight, and I don't know what starlight looks like.
So in my brain, do you remember the movie Waterboy? It's a classic film.
Do I remember it? Yeah. What about it?
All right. Do you remember the glacier water they had in the little thing? It was like, for whatever reason, glowing.
Okay, no, I don't.
All right.
Actually, I gotta look this up. You keep describing it.
Our primary character, Senor Bobby Boucher, is the titular water boy, right? And he gets his girlfriend and his mom's.
Oh yeah,
but he has this little thing of water,
blue,
and it's glowing.
Yeah,
right, softly,
like a neon deep blue.
Yeah, I think Brooks and Dunn wrote a song about this. Anyway, I think when I think of is it starlight? I think of that just slightly brighter is what I imagine it as.
That is a fun image. That is not where I was going. I was thinking of more regular water and it sparkled and shined.
It's just
but this is way better.
Well, I'm on board for what you were going for.
This one's fun. Bobby Boucher's glacier water is what they're swimming in.
Yeah. And his mama don't even know about that. Okay, don't worry about it. But I think the reason why I went with that was initially I was like, starlight, like it's emitting a bunch of light. And I'm like, okay, let's be real. Stars, like the sun is the best example of starlight we have. Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, is this starlight? It's fucking lava? Like, no, chill out. That's not what this is. So I was like, it's probably that cool glacier water because stars at night are softer. You know, we're seeing them further away. She's like, is this a starlight from very, very distant stars, relatively dimmed through atmospheric particulate?
This is your pedantic self coming true. I can only apply logic with Waterboy water. So
say what
that's
you will.
What we're going with it. It's
works.
Fun. It looks really pretty. It makes it. It also when she's describing what it was like floating in it and swimming in it, I thought of like heavy salt water. Does that make sense?
Yes, it seems viscous.
Yeah, thick. Yeah, really thick, and that you could just float. What are those rooms where you no sensory, no nothing things with water?
Sensory deprivation.
Yes, that's how I kind of pictured. That's how I pictured the water consistency of what it would be like. I've never been in one, but that's like what I imagined.
We can buy 40 pounds of salt if we got a tub.
There's a place here in town. If you get me a spa day, I could experience it.
I'm happy to do so.
Oh goodness. This was hilarious. I wrote down, not her roasting Isaac while lusting after Tamlin at this lake. She's just looking at how handsome, and she's like, let's compare him to the starved boy in my village. Like, weirdly, this poor man is starving. Like, I don't feel bad for him because he's having an affair. I just feel kind of sympathetic for the poverty-stricken man being compared to Tamlin.
Okay. And this is what made me think of the whole idea is if you were mildly insecure, if you were reading this book, this is what made that whole thought process start.
Yes, like that was a moment.
This man, because there was nothing wrong with him. She even said he wasn't insanely great looking. She's like, but he's fine looking. So it was like, no, you look good enough. And then she's
constantly
like,
roasting Isaac. Like how blatant he is.
To her.
Well,
specifically to her.
Yeah, you're right.
He's a shitbird to his
He's a shitbird, but so is she.
Well, yeah, and she gets no consequences, and this poor bastard just gets to hear how he's not the most amazing.
Roasted all the time for the rest of his life.
Okay, here's what kills me, though, too. Like, we hear about how handsome all the fairy men are, right? We don't hear about, like, Alice. Alice is so far I would say a fourth character as far as what we've interacted with. We haven't heard about how insanely attractive Alice is, but we should, because all the Fae, they're so good looking. And they were like, Alice is like, my saggy ass, you'll do this. And we're like, well, so Alice went from being like what I imagine is like a cat person to now like a lunch lady. Like she's wearing a lunch lady mask in my brain.
Yeah.
I know she's wearing the bird mask or whatever, but
yeah, same here. That's where I put her. It's just like, I don't know, a very loving Southern woman kind of attitude is what I give her.
oh, you're giving her a little booter and oil treatment.
Yeah, like she doesn't take shit, but she's gonna take care of you.
Yeah, see, and at first I took her as like an ornery, just a dark woman.
Well, you had free reign to. She could be whatever you want. A mean, short-haired, short girl. Brunette.
Really, blue eye. Are you Alice?
You're like, there we
That's
go. We got a side character that looks just like my wife.
I think my advantage is I got you right next to me. I'm like, that's all I need.
Well, let's go on to the next. Oh, mating bond. Speaking of mating.
We can end this right now.
A mating bond would start soon. Oh, with Lucian, where he told his father that a mating bond would start soon and he would marry her. Is a mating bond like not breakable, that he thought it was something to tell his dad? It's going to start soon and there's nothing you can do about it.
So this is also while I was doing other things.
Yeah,
right?
You were mowing at this point.
Yeah.
But we listened to it.
We did, but I was also weed eating. I had a lot going on. So I got bits and pieces of this. So correct me if I'm wrong. She asks if they were not married. They just had this mating bond as if it were less. And he's like, marriage is superfluous because
you get married to whoever.
Yeah, but mating bond, like that's the person you're banging. They're very important to you. Like it's so much more than marriage. And then, is that correct? Let me start.
That is what was giving off a little differently than the last series that we were listening to, but it seemed just like a partner for, like, there is a deeper connection, but it didn't make sense why he was just like telling his dad, there's nothing you can do about it. The mating bond is going to happen. Dad's like, not if I have anything to say about it.
So
it's nice.
Who's he trying to mate? I'm confused. I missed all of that.
Lucian is the youngest son of, I think, 7 brothers, or he has 7 older brothers, something to that effect. The way you become the next heir is not being the oldest, it's fighting for it. Like,
which is why he's a warrior dude.
He never cared. He saw it as whatever, one of them will get it. I'm not going to fight them for it. So he would spend his time just fucking around, doing whatever the hell he wanted, talking with people and just meeting lots of people. But that also included meeting lots of women. And he fell in love with a woman that his father felt was beneath him for his royal blood.
She was like a non-aristocratic.
Yeah.
She was just a regular person. And
I think,
like, yeah.
My interpretation, sometimes I zone out and just kind of trail off in my own imagination there, was that she was a prostitute.
Oh.
Is what I was getting from it.
There's a little Mary Magdalene in this stew.
And his dad was not. He did not like that. And if you didn't hear that part, what then also happened is...
I know his brothers tried to kill him. I heard this part.
Yeah, and Tamlin helped him.
Tamlin fucking murdered him.
Yeah.
It was, there were 4 brothers.
There were 4 brothers that showed up.
Because he killed one and Tamlin killed the other 2.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. Okay, so, but the dad then murdered the prostitute?
Yeah, made Tamlin watch.
That's real fucked up.
His love. I don't know if she was a prostitute. She was just viewed as beneath.
So she could have also just been like...
I don't know if I said made Tamlin watch, made Lucian watch.
Listen, you didn't specify. I assumed it was Lucian, but it would have been funnier if it would have been like, Tamlin, watch this. But Tamlin was already the lord of his area, or no?
There was more to that, and you go back and re-listen. It had something to do with how his family died.
Okay, and this brings me to another little line of questioning. So if this dude had 4 brothers, that's incredibly rare.
He had 7.
Okay, but 3 of them are dead. The rest of them must have learned not to fuck with him.
Oh, I don't know. The others could be dead too. I don't remember now.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
No, they have to be alive because Lucian is living in the spring court and somebody is
managing the other one.
Well, his dad is still doing that.
Oh.
And okay, now I'm remembering. Feyre asked, does he ever, because of the role that Tamlin gave him, does he ever communicate with his dad and brothers? And he said yes. And his dad has never said sorry.
Okay. Lucian is a representative of the spring court now.
No, I don't know what he is.
He has some sort of a title. But
I don't think representative, maybe a representative.
There's another name for it, but I think that was basically like, if, we have these formal meetings, I will send Lucian in my stead, and he will represent my territory. Right. Yeah. Okay, and then we have Tamlin, who also was like a warrior prince, but, the whole root of what it is I was getting at before is it's incredibly rare for the High Fae to have children. And when they do, they're super beloved. Alice brings us up, right? Mm-hmm. So the fact that he has so many siblings had to be incredibly rare for
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So therefore,
I don't understand the children one. That goes into one of my questions for you.
Okay.
Was the children? What was your understanding of children?
Basically, they're more or less adolescent until around 75 years old, in which case it would be like an 18-year-old person to the humans.
But why do you think it's rare?
So Alice says specifically so she and Feyre are having a bit of a debate, and Feyre's like, you don't understand why I value my family. And Alice is like, the fuck I don't. I have my own family. Like, I know what this is like. She's like, and I even have 2 nephews. Mm-hmm. And she's like, in our kind, it's very hard to conceive children. So they're super valuable to us as not just family, but as a nation. We very much value these individuals.
And then to hear there's a family that has 7. And the goal is to fight to the death or whatever type of power.
So, I can't understand that part of it at all. And that's why I was so confused by this, is because in, I think, chapter maybe 15, I'm shooting from the hip here a bit, maybe 16, I can't remember, Alice and Feyre have this conversation, and then it was like chapter 18 or 19, something like that, is when Lucian story comes out, right, where it's like, he had a pile of siblings and we murdered 3 of them, and he's still got a handful of them left. He interacts with them sometimes. His parents don't care for him. I'm like, I thought the whole idea of these children was that they were astronomically important.
Yeah.
So,
but this has been a long time. I guess I don't know how old Lucian is.
Well, we know he's at least 100 years old.
Yeah. Which then falls into a small theory that you leaked to me that you thought was Tamlin possibly seeing Feyre as a partner to have a child with for an heir.
Yeah, and I stand by this. I also think, like I said, at some point, Feyre will be some sort of a conduit for magic, or a sponge, I don't know.
There's something about her. If he wanted to have an heir, how would he do it? Now I'm looking at everything with a different lens, like how their experience was at the lake. Mm-hmm. Why do that other than seducing her?
Yeah, but now I assume the fire festival or whatever it is they have going on exactly to celebrate spring. He's like, all right, I gotta bang some ladies so I can attempt to produce an heir.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then he's like, but you stay here because everybody's sex crazed right now. Spring has sprung, right? Everybody's giddy. And she's like, okay, I'll be in my room. I'll set my traps. And then he's like, all right, cool, stay. He walks out the door and she follows him, more or less. Like, she wastes no time. She's like, I tried to concentrate, but the beat of the drums, the rhythm's going to get you. And then she just hops out there.
It was giving me Hansel and Gretel of entranced.
Dude, it was giving me the cha-cha slide at any event. Like, and then play the cha-cha slide. Everybody's getting out there.
Like, she felt very drawn. She kept mentioning that. I guess now looking forward, Tamlin knows they also need earmuffs.
Hey, you know what Tamlin didn't do that if he was really that interested in keeping her safe would have been? He could have explained to her, like, this shit's going to be super duper dangerous for you. I think that Martha...
Why?
Well, also, I think that it's very clear it's going to be dangerous. Because he does continually tell her, don't do this shit, it's dangerous. And then she goes, okay, sure. And then she goes and does the dangerous shit. I think in lieu of that, what he could do is be like, hey, why don't you lay your head on that pillow, and it's going to be really, really dangerous. I'll wake you up when it's over. And then done. She goes to bed.
Yeah.
And like, you did it before without her consent. I understand now you're trying to build rapport, but also be like, your safety is far more important to me than your curiosity being satiated right now.
Yeah, and especially if he has any clue that she would be drawn to it.
How would he not?
Yeah.
She is drawn to everything that he says don't do.
Which
she's almost more of a teenager. You're not wrong. Like the Siri thing is sort of fits here where, you know, Garrett will be like, Siri, don't fuck around and find out. And she's like, but I thirst for knowledge. Proceeds to fuck around.
Well, and that falls into one of my little last notes. This is why I would never live a life worth writing about, because I would never go and do that. I would be like, yes, I'm going to sit here and survive, but that's not an entertaining story. You know who would have a life worth writing about? Kala. Do you remember her?
Who?
Kala. She's the tunnel lady.
Oh my God, the lady building a tunnel underneath.
Yeah, she lives a life worth reading about, because when she faces adversity, she's like, I'm going to keep going. When she's told don't do something, she continues doing it.
Do you know why that could never be an autobiography, though?
Because it would be manipulated?
No, because those people will die before they ever get a chance to write anything out.
Well, do you know why she came back up?
Stupid. Did she get permitted?
No.
Oh.
She's doing something else.
Is it a skyscraper? Did she go the other
castle?
Way? I fucking, God damn it. Guys,
she's building a castle.
So
she has all this rock and she's building a castle.
Why are we paying software engineers enough money to where they have a choice to either build tunnels like mole people or build a castle?
I think it's great. She's highly motivated, hardworking, not effective hardworking. It's silly, but hats off to her.
It's a bit like, you know, like your dad when he starts a project and you're like, you know what? Good for him. He's doing something.
Yeah.
But then it's not done well enough that you're like, oh, that's how that should have been done. You're always like, huh, you could have spent 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Here or there.
That is how she works. It's very, but she's just doing it for fun.
And it is not a fun thing, to be fair.
It was.
The tunnels are legitimately a dangerous thing.
Yeah. But the castle one is a little less dangerous. I guess we'll find out when she starts stacking them.
Really depend on idea. I was just going to say, I'm not going to lie to you. I think her experience with geology, given her tunnel experience now, should pretty much tell her that she's not the person to build that castle. It's not Scotland or Ireland, and I'm unfamiliar with the ground in which she owns property.
No.
But if she was able to tunnel it, something tells me that her soil composition is probably not the correct composition to, with no pylons or anything, just be building a castle. Like, there's a lot of engineering that goes into this. And some poor bastard, she's going to sell that castle to somebody. And there's going to be like a child there. And boom, castle falls.
That's not how the story ever goes. She is a character, a real life character. So whatever fits best for a character in a story, a character would not sell any of it. They would continue on their wild journey and wild adventures, doing crazy things. That's her. Just like Feyre. Going into a crowd where it's a lion's den and shocked, like, oh,
so your take is
fairies who
it's her story, we're just living in it.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I wouldn't argue that at all with you. I agree. I think that certain people just have fascinating lives. I think there are other means of doing it. But to be fair, I'm glad, you know, if one of these billionaires isn't going to just become Batman, tunnel lady building a castle in Ohio.
Now she's castle lady, Pennsylvania.
She'll always be tunnel lady to me.
Yeah.
But
until we start seeing more of her content, building a castle, now you're like,
I don't think it'll be. I'm going to enjoy the secondhand information you give me as the interesting notes come up. But you're right. She is a tenacious individual, to say the least.
Well, what we've ended on is handsome man. Now,
not handsome. The most beautiful man I've ever seen.
And we're next going to find out if he's good or bad. He's clearly good enough to pull her from that situation, but is it because he has even more malicious love, like a slow burn malicious plan for her?
I will lay on my prediction right now.
Or is he the ultimate shadow daddy for this story?
Here's the thing. I don't think he's malicious. I think he begins as selfish. And then he finds meaning in Feyre.
I thought that's what we're getting from Tamlin right now.
No, I don't think Tamlin has ever exhibited that he was a selfish one. He has done nothing but take his lands and make them a safe, hospitable place for as many people as he could.
Okay.
He's treated all his people well. And yeah, I think so far, honestly, Tamlin is a nice character.
I think there's something going on with him.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I'm saying so far from what we've been given, he's not super in depth. And I do think that he has ulterior motives. But I would say at this point, Tamlin is also like, while he's interesting, he's not as complex as I would have guessed him to have been.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out more.
Please.
I'm ready to start the next few chapters. Well, not even a few. I'm hoping to get to 30.
Tonight?
No, not tonight. Get through 21 through 30 next and find out what is going on with this most beautiful man. And we need to do our duo. Yes.
We got to keep up on our duo. Learn about handsome men. I want one chapter tonight before we fall asleep.
Yeah, I'm on board. So you can hear about handsome man.
Yeah.
I've just switched to handsome man.
That's fine. In order for me to have sweet dreams, I need to be cuddling you, hearing about him.
I love you.
I love you.
You're my bestie.
You're my bestie. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Shadow Daddies Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.